Hello everyone that will be tuning in today. My name is Zach Hater, and today the purpose of this video is really just me talking about primarily just a little update. I haven't gone live for a long time, so I feel quite excited to be here going live right now for the first time in a little bit. And yeah, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about my challenges and triumphs, just getting a little bit current about certain things that I've been up to, and a real big focus on one of my main challenges right now, and also talking about how I'm overcoming it, particularly in relation to my relationship with tobacco and cannabis over a big portion of my life, and how I'm kind of using this video in a sense as kind of like I'm doing it for myself as much as anything, just as a kind of accountability marker in a sense, because if I put this out there now saying like, right, this is my first day without any nicotine, any weed, nothing, and I feel like that's gonna just help me in my own mindset of like, right, I'm committed to this, I've made a decision and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, so welcome everyone who's tuning in live. I got two people I can see. Okay, cool. Not that that is an issue, it's just I'm going to stay off the live stream so I can't see it myself. I'm just going to talk. So, hi everyone. Yeah, so as I said, it's been a little while since I've tuned in, done a live or even a video actually. And a big part of that has been driven by a certain thing, an old habit. But yeah, I've give a few things that are going well right now. So like business is going well. I'm quite happy. I've been self-employed now for almost 2 years, fully self-employed, and it's been going really well. I have also, of course, Foundation for Personal Growth, which I've shared a little bit about over time. It's going really well. My co-founder and I are doing a good job with it. And I'm currently sponsoring 8 people for our personal development program that we're creating, which is really good. It's like an 8-action program, and yeah, my sponsees are getting a lot out of it. I myself have got a lot out of it, and my co-founder have got a lot out of it. So that's going really well, and I'm excited about it. I'm currently working on the emotional healing action of it, by finishing off basically my own emotional healing course, which has been in the works for like a long time now. So, and I've recently discovered a new style of an emotional triggering modality, and I found it to be incredibly powerful. It's basically using affirmation with compassion, like using the energy and intention of compassion in the words. Almost all of the affirmations start with "I'm so sorry," and yeah, it's quite a very very potent technique for bringing out emotions whenever you kind of almost want to. I mean, you'll experience what you need to experience when you experience it, but it's very powerful nonetheless. That particular new style of modality has kind of been like a missing piece to my jigsaw puzzle with my emotional healing course. I realized I needed certain affirmation sets. It was like, say for example, you got the 3 core human traumas of abandonment, rejection, and abuse. I wanted to create specific affirmation sets, positive reinforcement affirmations for each trauma, so that a person could basically kind of like really bring in that love specific to what they're going through in the moment. But I found this modality and going to be doing a certification in it in the next few months from the guy Edward Mannix, who's created the course and teaches it, and I'm going to become certified in it so I can basically reuse what he's already created and also make it my own as well. Because yeah, why reinvent something if it already works, kind of thing. Yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But we'll see. I haven't even really looked into it that much. I've just played around with the quick start that he offers for free, and it was like, wow, that's powerful. So I'm going to keep doing that. And just generally, yeah, just really appreciating the quality of my lifestyle at this time. It's just wanted to, for years now, I've wanted to create more time freedom in my life. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying that manifestation recently, and just excited to see it continue to unfold in the ways that it is. And yeah, I've been going to the gym now since like middle of January. I'll explain a bit more about that in a bit. And I'm generally feeling connected. Like I'm feeling like, I'm communicating with lots of different people, and it's just nice, I felt, especially after COVID, I know so many people can relate to this, like the feeling of loneliness and just feeling kind of, success can be a lonely journey sometimes. And especially with the whole lockdown situation that happened, of course, many people were experiencing that kind of feeling of separation, lots of root chakra stuff going on. And so, yeah, part of the first action of Foundation for Personal Growth is actually outreach and connection. So connection and community. And so, yeah, it's been really important. Just connecting with more people and feeling connected has been good. And yeah, another part that's coming up soon I'm really excited about. There's some resources that are going to be coming into my life soon that is going to further enable me. I'm also looking into a YouTube business, creating YouTube business, creating a YouTube channel, maybe of its own brand, specifically offering and publishing animated educational videos, specifically around spirituality and personal development and emotional healing, and just doing really fancy kind of animations that are very visual. So for the visual learners out there, they'll be able to really understand the concepts of what's being explained. So I'm really excited to get on with that. That's going to be really good. Really focus on the kind of quality of the video and the education, the quality of the education, and yeah, just see where that goes. Really excited about that. Another thing that I'm intrigued about is, I can imagine there's many people that are familiar with free energy devices, like the Liberty engines, and basically like Tesla, like Nikola Tesla back in the 40s, early 50s, 30s, was creating a lot of different technologies and inventions that he received through spirit and his own wondrous ways, I suppose. And yeah, so many of his inventions had actually been taken by, especially in the United States, where the military and industrial complex and big oil companies and all these other big energy companies basically kind of like stripped all of these kind of technologies away from, for example, Nikola Tesla and possibly others, and basically created their own patents around these technologies, with the idea then of basically keeping the whole of humanity kind of a slave to the combustion engine and fossil fuels, because that's a very profitable industry. So I understand why they did that, but at the same time, humanity has been kind of suffering in a sense, in unnecessarily. Let's just say humanity could have been a little bit better off had this kind of free energy technology been available at the time, but it wasn't. It's God's plan, isn't it? So, but here we are now. We have access. We have this knowledge around this technology. It's just, the issue is right now, if you try and sell it, if you create one of these devices and then try and sell it, you'll probably have someone knocking on your door trying to strip you of your research, and well, you may not be alive for much longer either. I mean, that depends, doesn't it? It depends on the scale in which you're doing it and all of that. But moving forwards from that and that limited kind of reality that has been the case for the past few decades, for many people that have invented this technology again and then had it stripped from them and then even killed in some cases just to keep them silent, does happen. We are here now in this time where we've got access to this information easily, and yeah, I'm actually going to share now. Switch this over. Yeah, there we go. Let's do my little tweaky thing. I'm working with OBS here today. Cool. Right. So yeah, this device is basically just a car alternator with which has been modified slightly and had some magnets stuck in it around the inner copper coil. And you stick north and south facing opposing magnets around the copper loom, and that basically turns it into a 220 volt electricity generator. You then hook that up to this, this extension cable and plug in an electric motor onto the other side and connect them with a pulley belt on the back there that you can't actually really see on this video at the moment. And it creates more electricity than it takes to power the system to create that electricity in the first place. And as you can see there, it's doing 227 volts, and so I had this idea, like, maybe if I buy a Tesla in the next few months and then build one of these machines, because it's very simple: a car alternator, an electric motor, and a few magnets. Like, you just need the tools, and anyone can do this. Stick this machine in the back of the Tesla, and every time I need to charge it, plug the machine into the Tesla and just spin the belt and let it go, let it do its thing, and you can essentially just have a never-ending supply of power in your Tesla, which I think is amazing. And beyond that, beyond just the idea of using it for transport, also the idea of let's get this image back a second. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm also planning to buy land to start an off-grid community around 2030, maybe. I mean, that's kind of this benchmark kind of year that I believe a lot of people are really going to start flooding out of cities in particular and built up areas, and start wanting to push more towards off-grid sustainable living. And so if you can imagine just a few of these little car alternator electric motor setups, you just maybe need one of these car alternator electric motor setups could literally they produce, I think car alternator, one of those would produce around about somewhere about 75 amps. 75 amps is pretty much enough to power most residential homes, right? So just to power basically a kind of small village or off-grid community, which potentially wouldn't use as much electrical appliances as a typical modern day home, you'd only need a certain number of these little setups just to run a community and give them enough electricity for heating, charging devices, whatever else, right? Cooking food, whatever you need. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be cool. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's just another little project. But yeah, the main thing that I wanted to come here today to speak about was this kind of what I'm struggling with, I suppose. I say struggling with, working with, and how I'm overcoming it and working through it, and my findings in that way. What I'm finding. So yeah, sorry, this is not working. Bear with me, please. Gonna work this time. There we go. Right, so okay. That'll do. Right, so this is my fitness pal, and basically since it was, I'll just give a little bit of backstory. So where was I? It was summer of last year, summer of 2021, and I'd gone to Mexico. Long story short, I basically lived in Mexico from summer of last year until the beginning of December last year. And in that time, I kind of, various different circumstances basically led to me deciding that I was going to basically have takeaway every day. I basically was eating one meal a day, and it was takeaway. Sometimes 2 meals a day, but it was a lot. It was kind of like I was eating 3,000 calories a day, and it was just more than I needed. And I wasn't going to the gym either. It was various different reasons. being in a different country, my income at the time, and just different kind of living situation, things going on in that regard. Moving forwards then came around to December, I come back to the UK and I'm like, right, I know where I'm at in this country. I can get organic food easily. I can, I can easily get transport. Things here are very reliable. The infrastructure in this country is fantastic. I can also have easy access to the gym, and I could have done all of this in Mexico, but there's just certain different personal reasons why it's just easier for me to do it here. And part of that, I suppose, is familiarity, but here I am. And so then it came around and I started planning. I was like, right, I've been putting on weight, and I was like, and also I hadn't been smoking weed, so no weed or cigarettes for the majority of my time in Mexico, which was really good. I was really happy with that. It felt great. But then at the same time, I was allowing my food habits to kind of just run loose, and that led to me putting on weight. So fast forward, as I said, to now, it came around to the 17th of January this year. And up until this point, I'd spent like a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, really planning. I was like, I knew what I wanted to do. I was going to go to the gym. I was either going to do like an extended kind of juice fast, like extreme kind of detox in that way, or I was going to go to the gym and eat clean and calorie controlled. And so I was planning. I was like going to the gym. I was planning my workout routine. I was planning my nutrition plan, planning mindset, all of it, studying, doing more learning, and it was good. And I hit the ground running. 17th of January, really good. That was like around that day. It might have been the day before, a couple of days before, I stopped smoking everything completely clean. And then in the first month, the first week, lost the water weight, great, normal, and then just kind of on this kind of trajectory downwards, which was awesome in my weight. So it got to this point then, it was just around about a month after, and I got down to my lowest weight. And this was around 16th of February. Around about that time, I basically got into this state of emotional overload. I had put myself in a bit of a situation where I was suffering, and that suffering just became quite extreme. Before I put my phone on mute. So yeah, I was suffering. And now the interesting thing, my relationship with weed in particular, cannabis, it's quite an old one. I first started smoking, I'm 30 years old now. I'll be 31 in August. And I was between 14 and 15 years old when I first started smoking weed. And yeah, it was intermittent at the time. I wasn't doing it like all the time, but I was doing it a lot. And basically, yeah, long story short, I've been smoking weed for half my life. And so that's a very ingrained habit in a lot of ways. It's become a real part of my identity. And, if I was to continue as I have been and keep going in my life in the way I have been, then yeah, it would just really continue to solidify that identity. And I don't want that for various different reasons. And so, yeah, I had that emotional overload. But what happened was I just it was so intense. I pretty much just surrendered and just decided to go back to the crutch of weed, because the thing with weed is it tends to, numbs your emotions. But when that happened, I saw it really clearly for what it was, and that behavior for what it was, and how unhelpful it was. If you want to ascend, if you want to improve your life, if you want to feel the best you can possibly feel, you need to be doing inner work. You need to be feeling out the emotions to their absolute depths. And there's been plenty of times where I've done that, plenty of times where I haven't had weed with me at all, and I've been in those depths. But there's also been plenty of times where I've been smoking while going through emotional episodes, and that's no good. And so upon realizing that, I was like, right, midway through February, I started smoking again, and then you see my weight. You see that there's the floor there on the 16th of February, and there's another floor there, and then there's another floor there. But you can see this kind of like upward line, this upward trajectory on the floors, kind of going up, and that's just basically I've been smoking weed and cigarettes again since that time for the past 2 months, and it's obviously not helping me with with my weight loss, fat loss in particular. Although in that process I've put on some muscle, which has been great, but I've still been doing the emotional inner work. Like I've still had emotions coming up, even though I've been frequently high. Still had those emotions coming up, still processing them when they've been needed to, which is good. But here I am now. So what's my little cue point? Let's go back to this. go back to this again. Yeah. So, where am I? Yeah, so it's like issues in the tissues as well. Like body fat stores toxins and even emotion in certain ways, right? And so it was also that thing on that bottom floor on the graph where on the middle of February where I had that emotional overwhelm. A big part of that was like, right, I had no nicotine, had no cannabis, like I don't drink alcohol anyway, really, like unless it's social. I wasn't numbing with food because I was like strict calorie control, going to the gym. So there was nothing that could numb me. And normally I would have resorted to one of the three, you know, like weed, well, weed or food really. Like those are the two kind of main numbing things I've used throughout my life. So it was that kind of thing as well. And you know, when you're losing weight, when you're burning fat, emotions come up for you, right? That is a thing. We have to face it. Like we buried those emotions with food in the first place. And so really, if we want to get rid of that fat, we need to face those emotions because they're going to come up. They were buried with that food at the time. They're going to be re-stirred, redisturbed. They're going to be disturbed when we're in a calorie restricted state because the fat is being burnt. So for all of that, it's like, right, I knew as well at the time before all of this happened, I was like, I knew that it's like, it's one thing knowing all of this stuff, like, which is, yeah, it's one thing knowing all of this stuff, but when it actually comes down to it, it can be a challenge. But again, recently, after just smoking again for the past 2 months, and now come to this point, it's like obviously I'm not achieving what I want to achieve. It's like I've got all this other good stuff that's going on in my life, like all this, like I said at the start of this live, like all these good things that are going on with like in my life, and I'm really excited about. And I've got this one part of me which is my weight. I've been overweight since I was like very young, like in my early teens. I was at my highest, I was like 300 pounds. Like right now I'm just over 200 pounds. But when I was 15 years old, I was 300 pounds. So like I know what it likes to, I know what it's like being overweight, and I feel a part of my identity here and what I'm kind of working with within myself is, it's almost like a part of me doesn't really know how good it feels to be super lean. So I don't have that. It's like you've really got to, it's like the vibration of me being that version of myself. I need to kind of, it's almost like, yeah, you can fake a vibration, you can like feel, visualize and all of that, but, and yeah, you can kind of interpret what that vibration would feel like. But really, how are you really gonna feel that vibration unless you're already living it? And I know it's kind of a backwards way of doing it or thinking about it, but and maybe you just get really, if you can just get really creative about creating that vibration and really, you know, solidifying that, then yeah, that can work. But I think this is part of my focus now is, yeah, aligning to not letting that happen again. Like the next time, like I'm on this, you know, this is my first day now, like no weed, no cigarettes, right? But this emotional overwhelm is going to happen again. But what am I going to do differently this time? Instead of turning back to the weed or to food, emotion needs to just be faced. I need to be able to, and this is what I was getting into actually now as well. Yeah, like the remedy. So I listened to this podcast the other day, like yesterday actually. It was just to hear some different ideas on addiction, and he said some really good things. He's from actualize.org, and he said the root cause of all addiction is a fear of emptiness, which to me is like a fear of lack. Like the fear of emptiness is like, oh, there's something satisfying about smoking that cigarette. It fills me up in some way. May not be healthy at all, but it gives me a certain feeling, right? And so that's the first thing. He also, a really good reminder, he basically says in his podcast, you want to just be able to sit in stillness for an hour and do absolutely nothing, and just let that craving completely overcome you. Let it wash through you, the whole of your being, so you can completely sit with it. And that's exactly the same as doing your inner work, essentially, right? You're just feeling it. You're feeling it to heal it. And so that's it's one thing saying all of this, it's one thing saying it, and there's another thing actually doing it. Because sometimes we can be so caught up in the moment of our lives. Say if we're out and about and we can't just sit in stillness and quiet, like somewhere for an hour, but we're triggered and we're like, oh, I need this, or I'm craving that, I'm craving food, I'm craving nicotine, I'm craving alcohol, whatever it is, craving thoughts, like so many different types of addictions that we can have, that and of course the second thing he recommended as well is mindfulness meditation. And I know with any kind of addiction, you need to substitute out that addiction for something else that can kind of replace what you were getting from that addictive behavior or substance. So for example with weed, or any addiction really, but specifically with weed, like meditation and just rest and giving yourself downtime. I know in my past I've always been pushing myself. I'd always push myself to like perform like in a certain way, build a business, just do all this work constantly, be super busy and get a lot done. But in that process, it's like, right, oh, kind of forcing myself to like chill out with weed because I kind of need to, and grey hairs from that, which, you know, it's natural if you're going to push yourself throughout life in a way. But yeah, so those two things. If you have a craving, if you're struggling with an addiction, sit in stillness for an hour and let the addiction overcome you. That's what I'm going to be doing. And meditation. I've been meditating anyway, but even more. And just making sure I do it. I feel like that was a thing as well. Middle of February, like I was saying, when I got to my highest point, and physically I was feeling amazing, like I was just feeling really vibrant in my energy, but there was that emotional overwhelm that was going on. Yeah, at that particular time, I really just needed to completely detach from the situation I was in and just full on go into meditation. But I didn't quite do that. But anyway. Yeah, so really, and it's also coming in part of reforming identity as well. So I know in my own example, smoking in general, since I was 15 and being 30 years old now, that's like half of my life, smoking. It's a big identification. And so I'm constantly reframing myself like I am smoke free. I am free. That kind of identity. Not associating myself with that particular habit or habits. And another really important part as well is, of course, if you're smoking, what does that say about your own kind of quality of self-love? Not in a judgmental way. I'm not like projecting this in a judgmental way, but I can certainly, I suppose it is kind of a self-judgment to do this, but it's like, how much do I really love myself if I'm continuing to harm my being with these substances? I mean, particularly tobacco. I mean, even tobacco, modern tobacco is compromised. It's laced with certain things that are literally designed to, well, it's a very controversial thing to say, but let's just say that perhaps, yeah, tobacco is compromised. Why am I continuing to smoke stuff like that if I know full well that it's compromised and it's quite possibly designed to lower my lifespan? Like, beyond just the fact that it's tobacco. So yeah, that's another reason why. And also, like, how I show up, for example, with social media, I have not done a video now for like months because, like, when I'm high, I don't even want to. I don't want to do anything. That's an issue. I don't want to even reply to messages on Facebook, and I'm sorry to everyone, like, for my delays in replying to messages, because it's a joke. It has been a joke. To be fair though, even when I'm not smoking weed, I can be pretty poor at getting back to messages. But half the time, it's like I'm busy. Like I don't. My time and attention is valuable, and it's great to connect with people. But at the same time, it's like I just focused on this project, and I tend to kind of like to focus on one thing at a time. But hey, that's me. Yeah, yeah. Here we go. I'm 3:33 p.m. It's time to take away the weed crutch and substitute it out for good. So I'm excited about that. Wow, we got no one on the live. How long has this been the case? I haven't even checked because I don't like seeing how many. We are literally only streaming to Facebook. Okay, cool. Sweet. Right. And we've been live for 32 minutes. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm really glad that I've shared this today. A little update. Yeah. So, as I said at the beginning of this video for me is really about accountability for myself. So, I'm going to begin to close the video, the live stream out now. Just my quick meditation. I'm just going to send some love out to the entire world, wrap the entire world in loving energy. Thank you all